Ako urong dito, and I said I would stake my honor, my life, and even the presidency.
Person Salvador Panelo.
Hello. Hi. Mukhang naka-ready ka na, Joseph, ha? Naka-quote ka na ngayon, ha? Kulang pa yan, sir. Kulang pa. Okay.
MPC questions?
Start.
Question, Henry Uri. Microphone. Thank you. Virgil.
Secretary, good morning. Anong
Good
mga
morning.
agreement ang aasahan nating lalagdaan sa pagitan ng Pangulong Duterte at ni President Xi Jinping?
Pinapacheck ko pa sa DFA kung meron. Kung meron man.
Ibig sabihin na hindi pa sigurado, Secretary, na may agreement silang pipirmahan?
Siguro naman meron, pero hindi ko alam exactly kung alin. Kaya pinapakuha ko na. Maya, baka umabot tayo.
Joseph, you have questions? No more questions? Joseph Morong.
Sir, the SWS, we've released a statement already, no, but for soundbite purposes, majority of the Filipinos do not agree with the government in action, I think 84%. So that's the sentiment of the Filipinos, that we're not doing anything on the South China Sea. Your comment first.
Well, first, that is expected. We've been allies with the United States for so long a time. And you cannot just easily and overnight, us or a majority of the Filipinos trusting the Chinese government. That will be a long process. Number two, as pointed out by one of the lawyers, the question as crafted seems to mislead. It suggests that this government is not doing anything. Plus, the criticisms has been going in media, criticizing the president for not doing anything. But the problem with them is that they seem not to know exactly the strategy of the president. The president is very careful, but diplomatic at the same time. But foremost in his mind is the safety of the Filipinos, of this nation. That is why, as I was saying earlier, the arbitral ruling cannot be taken away from us. It will be there forever. But meanwhile, who will enforce it? There is no power on earth presently that can enforce it. The United Nations cannot. The U.S. cannot. Who will enforce it? Meanwhile, perhaps from the point of view of the president, we can get things done by negotiating. That is precisely why we have this mechanism of negotiating, talking with them. That is why we have this code of conduct. Because as far as the Chinese is concerned, we own this. This is ours.
As far as the Chinese are concerned?
Yes, that's what they're saying. That by historic right title, they own that part of the world. But meanwhile, there are claimants, and there is problem with navigation, as well as overflight. So we have to draft a code of conduct, and we're glad that the Chinese government acceded, and they're willing to sit down and talk on how the code of conduct will be drafted.
Follow up, sir. You mentioned that as far as the Chinese are concerned, we own this part of the world, no?
No, as far as they're concerned, they own it. They're
Okay,
saying
okay.
we own this.
And our position is?
Our position is the arbitral ruling says it is us. But meanwhile, it cannot be enforced.
Okay. Sir, you're saying that, going back to the arbitral ruling, you said that there's nobody that can enforce it, right?
The United Nations is not enforcing it. The United States is adamant in doing it too.
Opo.
So who will enforce it? Meanwhile, what are we going to do?
Are we saying it's useless?
As of now,
Yes.
yes. But, as I said, we can get what we are supposed to have by negotiation.
You don't see this, sir, as a tool for leverage for the Philippines?
Which one?
The CPA ruling, the PCA ruling, sir. The arbitration ruling.
I said that arbitral ruling will be there forever. It will always be a leverage because according to the decision, it is ours.
And how are we going to use this as leverage?
Well, they know that it is ours, but from their point of view, it is theirs. So there is now a conflict between the two, but we cannot go to war. And we don't want also armed conflicts arising in that region because it is us, this country, that will suffer the most, given the proximity between the two countries.
Just one last point, sir. To answer the statistics, no, the survey, you said that the question, the way it was crafted, seemed to be suggestive, right?
Yeah.
And that you're denying that the government is not doing anything. So to answer that survey, sir, what have we done on the SCS or West Philippine Sea, sir?
Well, that's precisely we have the negotiating table. That is why the president is visiting this country. Those are part of the talks between these two countries.
Maybe as far as advancing our interests is concerned, what have we done?
We have entered into bilateral talks where problems common to the countries in this region are discussed, like security, like terrorism, like the drug menace, like trade relations that will be beneficial to all the countries in the Asian region.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That's it for me now.
Inandolong.
Hi, sir. Sir, since you're saying that no one can enforce the arbitral ruling, what did the president mean then, President Duterte, when he said before that at one point during his term he will insist or discuss the arbitral ruling with his Chinese counterpart? What did the president mean by that?
It means that we will ask them to respect the decision. Because right now they're not respecting it. They're using might. It appears that other countries are not willing to help us enforce the same.
And when we ask them, or when the president asks them to respect the ruling, how does that play into asserting our claims?
Perhaps, when you talk with the Chinese government, perhaps we can tell them that we're supposed to be neighbors. That this particular area of conflict that we have now is given to us, to all of us, and we have to benefit from all of this. If you are neighbors and neighborly, then we should be agreeing with a modus operandi to use and be benefited coming from all those resources in that area. In other words, perhaps persuasion can be more successful and fruitful in getting what we want.
Speaking of persuasion, sir, some would say that getting support of other nations in asserting our claims could help.
Oh, definitely. In fact,
Is that something that the president is willing to consider, is considering?
that is a given because we are part of the United Nations. If you are part of the United Nations, any decision coming from that entity or body will have to be supported by members of that nation, of that organization.
Is that time coming soon, sir, when the president will talk to President Xi about it? I mean, could he use this opportunity to do that?
He could raise it now.
He could.
I mean, that's his call.
Okay. Lastly, sir, dun sa deals lang po, can you confirm if it will, among the deals that will be signed, is one that will be on the joint oil exploration?
No, this is why I'm checking on that. We're asking DFA.
There are concerns, or some senators are implying that it was China that drafted whatever deal or agreement will be signed.
Oh, it doesn't matter who drafted it, as far as we're concerned. If you give us a draft, then we'll go over it. We have to see whether this is legal or not, whether it's beneficial to us.
So we're okay with China dictating whatever will be the contents of the deal?
Well, I said, even if China drafts it, it has to go over us. We have to review that.
Okay.
In the same manner that if we drop it, it will have to pass through them too.
Thank you.
Okay, Henry. Microphone.
Secretary, you said the ruling of the tribunal is useless, right?
As of now, for purposes of enforcement, but psychologically, it benefits us. Because as far as the world is concerned, this is ours, not theirs.
You said also that they are not respecting it. The China are not
Yes,
respecting it.
obviously they're not. Otherwise, they would have given that property to us.
By saying that, hindi ho ba naiisip na rin ng Malacañang o ng gobyernong ito na i-give up na lang yung claim natin kasi wala rin namang nangyayari at ganun din.
Why you-
Tila ho walang makapipigil na sa China if it's useless and they're not respecting
I said,
it. Wala na
present-
makapipigil sa China.
I said presently. Perhaps if all the countries of the world will unite and pressure China, who knows?
So that's the only way.
I
The
think
countries
so.
of the world to unite.
I think so. In other words, there must be a collective action by the countries of the world and either persuade or pressure China into respecting an arbitral decision. We cannot give up this claim simply because it's already ours. We have won it, and it will be there forever.
And we will not give it up.
Of course not. We will not.
So ang direction po
Certainly.
ba ng Duterte administration, kumbinsihin yung mga bansa sa daigdig na magkaisa na para himukin ng China na igalang yung desisyon?
I think every country in a similar situation will do that.
But,
There's no doubt about it.
pero gagawin natin na ito.
Yes, of course.
When?
There are modes of doing it. One is negotiation. Two is during summit meetings among countries. You can raise that there. And in fact, we did it during the ASEAN summit.
So ginagawa na po natin
Yeah.
ito. Alright, thank you.
Okay, Celerina.
Sir, regarding your statement that perhaps if other countries would unite against China, so how could you expect other countries to unite or to cooperate with the Philippines regarding that ruling if the Philippines itself is not insisting on that decision of the PCA?
As I said, the ruling is there. You cannot disown it. You cannot. Nobody can take it away from you. What the president is doing right now, since it cannot be enforced, is using another tack to get things that he wants to get from them through negotiation.
Sir, do you see the sincerity of China sa negotiation na to?
Well, during the previous negotiation, it appears to me when I was there that they are sincere. You know, the sincerity will, the final test would be what are the agreements, if there are any, to be signed, whether we will be getting benefits or not, whether their pledges are going to be fulfilled or not. That will be the test of sincerity.
How about, sir, the activities going on in South China Sea? Isn't it part of that test, of that sincerity?
Well, look here. The structures that have been constructed started many years ago, as pointed out by the president. Now, the United States is doing something to prevent its continuous buildup. But they have not done anything at the start of the buildup. They allowed it. They allowed it. Now they're complaining. Now they're trying to provoke China, and China is being threatened too. That is precisely why the president is so concerned that any armed conflict might turn this part of the world as a raging inferno, either by collateral damage or by a strategic assault on us because of the proximity. The concern of the president is the safety of this nation, foremost in his mind.
Okay. Questions, MPC? Pia.
Hi, sir. Sir, will President Duterte follow up on China's pledges of support during his visit?
Oh, definitely, yes. Definitely.
Questions on China? Still on China? Other issue? China. Joseph.
So regarding the infrastructure projects, no,
Yeah.
si Secretary Jokno said yesterday that at least 10 will be signed. We don't know that.
His what? Ano yan?
At least 10 infrastructure projects will be signed, no? We don't know, we don't have the details yet whether
No.
that is the real number, but my concern is about paying this infrastructure loans, if there are loans. Of course, it's saying, Secretary Sonny Dominguez is saying that they will not compromise the sovereignty of this nation. But what is the assurance that we can pay off those loans in the future? Some sinasasabi ni Presidente is at 25 years pa babayaran, parang libre na yan. Of course, but we still have to pay after 25 years. What's the assurance that this is not going to be a burden to future generations of Filipinos after 25 years?
You're forgetting recent history. We were indebted with IMF and the World Bank for millions of dollars, and we were able to pay them. I think this nation has a capacity to will itself into complying international obligations and paying loans coming from other countries. I think that we have no history of not paying.
I think the issue is not
With respect to the interest, because they're complaining that interest is high.
Yes.
But that's precisely why there is a negotiation. We can negotiate to lower the interest.
Will we?
Okay. Last question on China. Deo.
Magandang tanghali, Secretary.
Yes.
Sir, sabi niyo po kanina, kung mag-unite yung ibang mga bansa to pressure China on the territorial dispute, sasama po ba ang Philippines if ever mag-unite ang ibang bansa to
Of course,
pressure?
precisely, the Philippines is the one involved.
Maglilid po ba ang Philippines to unite?
Right now, us, the Philippines, specifically the president, is the lead coordinator of the ASEAN countries in talking with the Chinese government with respect to the code of conduct in that area, with respect to navigation.
But then, sir, bakit po natin parang dina-downplay yung issue na yan? Like,
What do you mean downplay?
hindi po natin pinapressure dahil nasa atin na yung claim, okay na tayo.
Well, if you were listening to the speech of the president during the summit, then I'm surprised that you were saying that. He was very emphatic that there should be a code of conduct because he's afraid that if there is no self-restraint, that if there will be conflict in that area, then all of us will suffer from that conflict.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Last three questions tayo sa China. Pia, then Dreo, Celerina.
Sir, right now there are many... Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Sir,
Yes.
right now there are many protests on the ground regarding President Xi's visit. Could you answer lang the sentiments of these protesters on the ground na ang pananaw po nila talaga is that the Duterte administration has surrendered the Philippine interest to China, pabor po sa mga benefits like loans and yes, could you answer that, sir?
Well, I can understand where they're coming from, but again, as I said earlier, the president has a different tact in solving the problems confronting us. He's using diplomacy, negotiation, and persuasion to get what we want.
So, for all intents and purposes, we have not become a province of China.
Oh, definitely not. Remember, I think 2 months ago, when the Chinese government rudely used the language against us, the Philippine government, do you remember what the president said? Why are you using that kind of language? We're supposed to be neighbors. You don't do that to us. Otherwise, we will go to war. This is the language of the president. And I'm even surprised why the media did not catch on that. That should have been headlined.
Okay, last.
Last na lang.
Okay.
Sir, back to the pledges of support. It has been over mga 2 years na after President Duterte went home from Beijing, na merong $24 billion worth of Chinese loans and investment pledges. But right now, only a fraction of that has materialized. Does this speak of the sincerity of the Chinese government in giving support to the Philippines?
One professor was commenting that the fact that it's 2 years, it is reassuring because the two countries would be studying all these proposed loans, what terms and conditions they have to, what we're forgetting is there is bureaucracy, not only in this country, but also in China. I have some friends who have been working on this project for 2 years, but until now, they haven't succeeded. Why? Because according to them, China government has very stringent requirements. Philippines has also stringent requirements. So it takes time. Hopefully we will hurdle all these problems.
Last two, Andrea, then Celerina. Friendly
Kanina pa yung
reminder,
last, ah.
please limit your follow-up questions. Thank you.
Sir, just what you're saying a while ago that the Philippines want other countries to unite to pressure China, but wasn't this the approach of the previous administration, the multilateral approach, which the current administration kind of stepped away from and stepped towards bilateral? So, hindi po ba...
Not really. The administration will use all modes in solving the problem. Right now, it feels that the bilateral talks with China is or will work. If that fails, then multilateral discussions would come in.
So bilateral talks will work. So just to clarify, you see it
As
still
far
a-
as we're concerned right now, let's try bilateral talks first.
So just one last from
Let's
me.
see how it goes, how far it will go.
Sir, given the territorial disputes we have on one side and the loans and the financial benefits that we're getting, so if you're gonna weigh both of those, are we getting the benefits of our friendly ties with China 2 years after the president pivoted towards Beijing?
Well, hopefully we will get them. That is precisely why we're having all this visit, this negotiations, these discussions. Hopefully.
So hopefully we're not yet getting it because that's a hopeful
We're not
tone.
getting it yet because we have only how much? $140 million. We're still negotiating with the other. We're precisely going to, in the words of Ben Jokno, let's demand for the fulfillment of these pledges. I'd rather use the word persuade, not demand. You use the word demand to them, they might react also.
Last on
They
China.
might tell us, you want us to help you, you're demanding from us.
Sir, any assurance, like for instance, you are negotiating these huge loans with China.
Yes.
There could come a point now, we will insist on the PCA ruling. China might use that to, I don't know the right term, to pressure us to like immediately pay the loan, or parang gagamitin siya ng China to as a leverage, ganon.
What will they do if we cannot
Kasi
pay
sir,
the loan?
just like
Tell
what
me,
happened.
What will they do if we cannot
Yeah.
pay the loan?
Sir, remember,
attack us?
remember what
No.
happened to North Rail before? It was there was a loan agreement signed during the Arroyo administration.
Yes.
It did not push through, and when the Aquino administration came in and insisted on our rights over that West Philippine Sea, they demanded that we immediately pay the loan. So the Philippine government paid the loan immediately, even if it's not yet like meron pang mga grace period. So don't you think baka magkaroon ng similar instance na ganun?
Not in this presidency.
Yeah, not in this presidency,
No,
but
what I'm saying,
in the future.
not in this kind of presidency. Maybe during the previous presidency, it's weakened up to.
How about in the future? Like after, kasi we all know that until 2022 lang si President Duterte. So in the next administration, still the Filipinos would suffer if magkaroon ng ganun.
Well, my take is that this president has set a standard of a leader in this country. And there is no other way from those who will succeed him to be like him. One underlying principle, serving and protecting this country. He has set the standard of how a leader should govern this country.
So the successor should act like what the president is doing
It should be
right
like, in
now.
other words, courageous, independent, diplomatic, creative. He's a thinking president.
Okay, thank you, Salarina. Mag-last question na tayo, ha? Other issue, Ina Andolong.
Sir, regarding the president's schedule,
Yes.
doon and you issued a statement on this earlier, you still did not say kung ano po yung urgent domestic development that initially made the president think about cutting his foreign trip
Well, he did
short.
tell us, but I suppose there was no more need for him to come to the Philippines. Whatever domestic concerns he had in mind at the time, he was able to solve it even when he was there. But let me tell you that Secretary Locsin wanted him to attend only one day. He wanted him to rest because it was a punishing schedule. You know, when we went to Singapore, what time did we arrive there? Almost 12. And then we had a cabinet meeting. It ended at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then another meeting for 1 hour. So I think we slept at about 4 o'clock, and the first event was 8 o'clock in the morning. How in the world can... That is precisely why he skipped certain events that can be skipped at. Because one, that was only an opening, so it's not that important. Number 2, 3, and 4, he had to read only a joint statements coming from the ASEAN countries, and there was going to be a discussion among the presidents. So he just tasked Secretary Locsin to read the statement for him. But the more important ones where 3 presidents of 3 powerful countries were to address the members of the ASEAN summit, he was there. And he espoused his ideas vis-a-vis the concerns raised in that gathering.
So no idea at all, sir, on what this urgent domestic development is.
Did he-
Because if you recall, before he cut his trip to Russia short because he attended to the Marawi siege. So we were asking you about this days ago, just in case if it's of that something that serious as well.
Oh, he didn't tell us, but I can ask him maybe tonight.
And how was it resolved exactly? Did he task anyone here? Did he deal with
No,
the
that is
problem
precisely why
there?
I said I'm going to ask him so that I can give you a concrete answer. I will ask him.
Thank you, sir.
Bia, may question?
Sir, following up on that, sir, aside from criticisms, President Duterte's decision to skip several meetings in the ASEAN summit drew a lot of criticisms to 93-year-old Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad. They're saying that if a 93-year-old leader could attend all of these meetings, why can't President Duterte? Your reaction on that, sir?
Well, for one, the physique of the two may not be exactly the same. There are people older and yet are stronger than the younger ones. It depends. But I saw President Mahathir not in all the meetings. In fact, there were others who, as I pointed out in my statement, the chairman himself did not attend 2 meetings. He asked, I don't know if that was a deputy or vice premier, took over. President Trump did not attend. He was supposed to attend, just sent his vice president. But it does not mean, as alleged by certain people, that it's laziness or that they are seriously ill. It's fallacious.
Kasi sir, it also puts into question yung energy and stamina of President Duterte to attend these kinds of events.
If you were there, I don't know, you were there, right? But did you notice us too? We were falling asleep. And some of them are more younger, much younger than us. One of them, head of state, fell asleep during the meeting.
Sino sir?
Or 2. I will not mention, but if you were there, you would know. Oh, rather than be embarrassed falling asleep there and your camera focusing on you, mas power nap ka na lang muna. Anyway, sandali lang naman yun.
But is President Duterte physically fit
Oh,
to attend
definitely.
these kinds of high level?
My goodness, Pia, he's managing his schedule. Can you imagine this president has so many courtesy calls, and then he shuttled back and forth to the provinces doing his duties as president. And then he reads before sleeping until 6 o'clock in the morning, goes over reports, and then gives directives. Grabe siya. Bilib na bilib nga kami. We can hardly catch up with him. Talagang iba. Napakasipag.
Okay, thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Thank you, Press...
Wala? Meron na? Wala pa eh. Hindi, tinext na namin ng DFA.
Okay,
Hindi. We will issue a statement as soon as we have it. Para
Okay.
meron kayo istorya.
Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson
Thank
Salvador
you.
Panelo. Thank you, MPC. Back to my studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.